While this inquiry will deal with a wide range of issues, its focus will remain squarely on the decision of the federal government. Why did it declare an emergency? How did it use its powers? And were those actions appropriate?
After a long wait, the Commission of Inquiry into Canada's use of the Emergencies Act has finally begun. A group of governments and civil liberties organizations began by making the case that the circumstances of the trucker protests, which paralyzed Ottawa, didn't meet the burden for invoking the act, and that the federal government overreached.
I would like to briefly quote in part the correct legal standard in these circumstances for threats to the security of Canada that constitute a public order emergency. Quote, activities within or relating to Canada directed toward or in support of the threat or use of acts of serious violence. Not tied to serious acts of violence in some fashion. Not in conjunction with or somehow associated in some fashion with.
During opening remarks, several groups expressed their strident opposition to the use of the act, including an attorney representing convoy organizers.
It is our view that there was no justification whatsoever to invoke the Emergencies Act.
Municipal governments from Windsor and Ottawa were also present, but offering little in the way of opinion, instead underlining the impact on communities. However, the provinces of Alberta and Saskatchewan were clear in their view.
None of the powers that were created under the Federal Emergencies Act were necessary, nor were any of them used in Alberta to resolve the Coutts blockade.
Saskatchewan's position is that the federal government had already determined that a nationwide emergency would be declared before the First Minister's call on February 14th. The call was not so much about consulting as it was about telling.
No witnesses were heard on the first day, just opening remarks, but the Commission presented reports giving a bird's-eye look at the timeline of the pandemic, public health responses, and the federal government's reasons for invoking the act, including threats against public officials, harm to the economy presented by blockades, and risk of escalation.
The federal government said, in addition to there being ongoing illegal activities, that there were concerns about ideologically motivated violent extremism, in particular that the number of people who supported such ideologically motivated violent extremism could be increasing and could be a source of violence, that there were efforts by people based in the United States to enter Canada who were supporters of ideologically motivated violent extremism.
The Commission continues Friday, calling its first witnesses local Ottawa residents and local politicians. In Ottawa, Xiao Li, City News.